we're going to look at how to clean a Nintendo controller. So what I have here is I have just an original Nintendo Entertainment System controller, and this one is, it's already really been cleaned out, but just wanted to go through the process of it for those who are not sure of how this works. So we're going to go ahead and take this apart. It's really simple. It's really just 6 screws, and so we're going to go ahead and do that now. The first thing you're going to want is going to be a number 1 head screwdriver. So I just have a Phillips screwdriver right here. It's nothing special. You just want to get the one with the smaller tip. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take out all 6 of these screws around the back of it. So we're going to go ahead and just make sure you push down really well. Alright, and once you got all 6 of them loosened up, I usually just lift it straight off and then put the back cover over here to the side. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this little circuit board out of here along with the controller wire, and it's pretty simple. You just lift up on it and then you can usually just pull it right off. If it doesn't come off easily, then just stick a screwdriver under there and just pry it off. And so there is your circuit board. As you can see, this one's in pretty rough shape. This one actually is probably in need of replacement, but you have your circuit board there. All right, I'm just going to set that to the side for now. And then underneath here you're going to have your buttons, and you're just going to take out these inlays. If they're really dirty, you can go ahead and clean them. Otherwise, it's not necessary to clean those usually. They're usually pretty decent. And then all you do is you just pry off the buttons. We have our start and select button, and then we also have our D-pad. And then you can just empty out your A and B buttons. So typically what I like to do is I like to take some 91% alcohol, and I usually like to put some on a cotton swab, and when I'm going in and I'm trying to get into the real tight small places, I'll use the cotton swab to go into those real tight spaces and try and clean those out. And then for some of the larger spaces, I like to use these big cotton rounds. I find that these help out with a lot of different applications. So I'll usually take these cotton rounds and I'll just put some alcohol in it, and I'll go through and I'll clean out all the little crevices. You can even go around it. Just be very careful whenever you're using the alcohol. Make sure that you don't go over any type of ink or anything like that that's printed on there, because using alcohol in that can actually rub out that color. So typically I'll go through all of the front here, and then I'll take the back and I'll go through the inside of the back as well. I'll even clean off the screws if they're in pretty bad shape. Because these controllers have been around since the 80s, so some of them never been cleaned before are going to look pretty bad. And then you can either go through all of the little buttons here and you can clean these with alcohol too, or something I also like to do is go ahead and just put these in the sink with some just soap and water, just some dish soap, and just go through and clean those off. You can also use a cotton swab for those as well. Once I go ahead and I clean those off, then the last thing I do is I come over here to the little circuit board, and I'll usually just take some either glass cleaner or some alcohol. I'll put it on a cotton swab or on a little cotton round here, and I'll just rub it down and just keep rubbing and looking at the cotton swab until you get off all of the dirt and residue. Once you get this off completely and everything is clean, I usually like to let it sit out and just make sure that it dries completely, because the last thing you want to do is have any kind of liquid or cleaner on these things and then plug it back in, because obviously the liquid and the electricity are not going to mix very well. Once I finish cleaning off all of these parts, I'm going to just go ahead and put everything back together. So I'm going to put in my A and B buttons here. Here's my start and select. And finally my D-pad. And there's really only one way for these buttons to go in, so there's really no wrong way of putting these things back together. It's pretty simple to get these in there the way they're supposed to go. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put your little circuit board back on. And I usually just pop this into place first. And then I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to run my cable back through here. And so it looks something like that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my back cover back on. And you know, you can just go ahead and pop the screws out, plug this back on, and then just use your screwdriver to tighten that all 6 screws back down. Then you should be good to go. Alright, so that is how you go ahead and you clean out a Nintendo controller. Once you get it clean, it should be working back to normal. If it's not, then it's probably a faulty controller and might need to be replaced.